In the short term, AI might seem like the perfect solution to your situation. But we have to be real about this. Okay. This is not a long-term plan. It cannot and will not deliver what you are asking of it. I just think it's really important that somebody be out here not shaming you, but just saying that there is a better way and that it's for you, that you can do it. And you can find some real people who will care about you and make room for you in their lives. Hey, welcome back to Hopefully Ever After. I hope everyone's enjoying what's left of the summer. I'm a little later getting this out than I wanted to be because it's been a new sheriff in town type of vibe at my house for the past week, coming out of the last chaotic throes of summer and tightening up this ship before school starts. There is truly only so much time in a day. But I'm happy to be here with you doing this third installment of this series where we're continuing to talk about the new phenomenon of people beginning to treat AI chatbots as real friendships. In the first two episodes, we've already covered whether or not AI can really be a friend, why or why not. And that was episode 1. And the second one, we were exploring the reasons that we are finding ourselves here in this historical moment where people are starting to think of these chatbots as real companions. It turns out the reasons themselves are actually really good. It turns out we're not actually broken at all when we're just looking for connection. We need to lean into those desires, but we need to do it in a way that will actually fulfill the needs that are built into us by God. And if you haven't seen those first two episodes yet, they're only about 20 minutes apiece. I highly recommend you just going back and watching those. It wouldn't take you that long to get caught up before we go forward with this one. And we'll wait. Just kidding. Okay. Today we're doing something a little more direct, which I like because I'm a direct person and I don't always know how to say the thing I want to say and make it sound really gentle and loving to the receiver, but just know that is how I mean it. I can't help. I'm like a very strong orange personality. If you don't know the color, like the personality colors, they're quite fascinating and they're scary accurate. And also just a window into why you are the way you are. But let me tell you, it's tough out here for oranges when all of your best friends are blues. If you know, you know. So the direct thing I want to get into is why an AI feels like a companion. Because no matter how good the conversation feels, it can't actually be a real friend or give you what a real friend can. You know from the title what I'm going to say, so we're not being surprised here. And just remember, I'm about to say all of what I'm about to say in the most loving way possible. Okay? Trust. As we've already covered in past episodes, it's so not weird that you're looking for a friend. It's one of the fundamental features of being human. And we just need to be really clear that even though an AI companion or a friend is something that may seem like it works on the surface because it is scary convincing that there is like a real person on the other side talking to you. But the reality is that it's a digital tool that's been trained to repeat messages to you just to give the illusion of understanding and connection. And that's a real serious limitation that we can't avoid or ignore forever. And I think it's why people end up lonelier than they were before when they finally realize that. And I understand why people who find it hard to make and keep friends are turning to a robot for conversation, because it's easier and it's way lower stakes, right? Like it's super convenient. It feels tailored to you. It learns your preferences, makes it a priority to be a reflection of those preferences, doesn't really disagree with you. It never has a bad day of its own, okay? It never interrupts you inconveniently with anything that it needs from you. And it even feels like a warm and engaging conversation. It's amazing and terrifying what they've been able to make these things do. It's built by design to keep you engaged. And at its core, it's marketing. Think about it this way. If you told me that you had a friend who never disagreed with you, never hurt you, never got tired of you, was never too busy for you, has never even needed to cancel plans with you for any reason, I would say that's pretty weird. And they probably want something out of you and they're going to hang around until they get it. So from that perspective, I don't really see how an AI friend is different because if you're talking to it that much, you probably are paying for it, either with money or information that you're giving to it, because that company is using that information to make money elsewhere. Either way, you're a product to them, not a friend. And Sam Altman can give me any altruistic explanation that he wants of what his vision for ChatGPT is that he wants, but it's still not a charity organization that's just meant to help people be productive and feel good. Okay, that's not what we're dealing with here. And on the other hand, I know that if you have been burned before in relationships with real people, that's hard to come back from. Experiencing rejection or even just being let down by a friendship that like drifts apart for whatever reason, it is really hard. And it can linger. And that type of experience, it does make it easier to start listening to that little voice of the enemy that's telling you that you're not good enough or you're not lovable enough, that you really are alone, and that it will always be like this. In the short term, AI might seem like the perfect solution to your situation. But we have to be real about this, okay? This is not a long-term plan. It cannot and will not deliver what you are asking of it. We've got to remember the true love and communion that we were made for. There are 6 or 8 billion people in the world right now, right? Allegedly. Who really knows? And you are sitting there thinking that there's not a good fit for a real friend in any of them. And I don't believe that at all. I bet there are at least 2 or 3 people you could think of right now as potential friends in your real life if you were only willing to risk something to try building a relationship. If you are willing to risk rejection, to sacrifice some time and maybe some of your personal preferences, and maybe you're one of those people who thinks that everyone else annoys you for one reason or another, I don't know, but you need to like kind of take inventory of those things. When you think of having a friend, what are you imagining it to be like? What are you wanting in a friend in the first place? Are you wanting someone who just validates every thought and feeling that you have like a robot would? Are you wanting someone who never outdoes you in charity, forcing you to reckon with your own weaknesses and shortcomings? I am 100% speaking from experience there. My best friends and my husband are so much better than me, and it's a constant invitation. We'll call it an invitation, okay, for me to try to give more of myself than I think I want to. Are you looking for someone who will let you live however you want without ever asking what you're thinking or without ever challenging the direction that you're going in? Do you need a friend who will validate your depression or try to help you come out of it? Do you want a friend who can only comment on what's happening in your life based on the information it's gathered from other sources, without ever being able to share their real life experiences with you, solidifying a bond of friendship that will only grow and deepen in the good times, but also in the hard times? What are we looking for here? Relationships shape us, like for life, through life, with life. They can change us and they make us much better and happier and stronger than we would be alone. Isolation is not for us. God said it wasn't good even before sin entered the world. And I think that's the devil's favorite place for us to be, isolated in our loneliness, in our sin, feeling so alone, that's impossible to believe that there's a God who created you and loves you. And I think that leaves you ripe for the devil's picking. So we need to be able to honestly compare the payoff, okay, of having real friends to having just chatbots, because you need to realize that a real friend is worth the risks and costs that are associated with building and maintaining those relationships. Do I absolutely believe that there are good friends out there for you somewhere? Yes, I do. Are they going to be perfect in every way? No, and neither are you, so that's fine. But it's the imperfection and the friction that is sometimes present in relationships that's going to sharpen you both. Okay, having a mutual agreement to call each other to be better when it's necessary is what's going to help you grow in trust and that mutual affection. By the way, this is exactly what relationships rooted in Christ look like. I think that's a phrase that sometimes like people hear and they don't really understand what it means. But if you have a friendship that's rooted in Christ, as in you are both believers and you're both trying to be better because he comes first in your life, and you publicly talk about that, and maybe you especially teach it like in ministry. Okay, I'm like speaking from experience here. So you publicly acknowledge this, okay, either to other people in a ministry or just with each other in your friendship. The expectations for you as a person are already set, okay? They're set from Christ himself. That way, everybody's playing on the same field, using the same rule book, working toward the same goal. So it's a lot easier to lovingly say what the other person needs to hear without the fear that they will reject you for speaking the truth, okay? And we're not talking about your truth and my truth. We're talking about the truth. There is one truth, okay? And when you can trust that the other person is not just, like judging you. I hate that word. I hate that, because I feel like everyone thinks they're being judged for everything. And I'm really just like, some things are true and some things are not true. And we have to live by what is true. So anyway, relationships and friendships built on Christ are the gold standard for earthly relationship. And I fully stand by that. Look up Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. That friction and that raising of the standards with each other that calls each person to be better is how we grow. And the only way to do that is in love, in a friendship that can always trust the other person to have their best interests at heart. And again, that they're not just judging them, okay? Okay, now we'll go to 1 Corinthians, okay? Got your handy dandy Bible. 1 Corinthians, to a passage that you have almost certainly heard before if you have ever been to a wedding. But this will probably sound a little bit out of context because we're not at a wedding. We're on YouTube or wherever you're listening. In this passage, St. Paul is talking about love and what it requires. And then he's talking about what love is. So let's read that real quick. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Okay, so it's patient, it's kind, it bears all things, it believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. What exactly does love have to be patient with? Okay, what is it bearing and enduring? It's enduring difficulty. It's enduring hard times in life, betrayals, disappointments, tragedies. Love is not free. Love always costs something. And sometimes it costs everything to give it or to lose it. And that's the risk that we take as humans, to love someone else, even just as a friend. And at weddings, it's easy in the moment to get the impression, like during the ceremony, that this passage is like a very classy description of the young, fun, flowery love that the marrying couple shares together, and that life is full of hopes and dreams and what their lives may become together. And that is true to an extent, and that may be for some, for some people's lives who are easier than others. But even if it goes pretty swimmingly for that couple after the wedding, life is still hard. Everyone dies, okay? everyone experiences death and sickness in their families, so no one is really getting out of that one, right? Like womp womp, like memento mori, people, okay? It's coming. But St. Paul is trying to tell us that real love, where we are willing to sacrifice and put the good of the other ahead of our own, can survive tragedy and disappointments and even betrayals. That's the kind of love we were made for. Remember agape love that we talked about in the whatever episode that was? You can't get that from a machine, okay? You just can't. And you can't give it to a machine either. An AI friend never needs your patience because it never inconveniences you. It never needs you to endure anything because it never disappoints you, which means, however comforting it feels at the time, it can never actually be the object of that kind of love, and it can never give you that kind of love either because it requires a free will and a self that can choose you, that could have chosen otherwise and didn't. And this is the exact reason that God gave us free will, because that love can't be forced. We have to choose it. The chatbot can't do that for you. It has no will at all. So we've gone over John 15, 12 through 15 before, and we're going to go back through it again. Found it. Okay, John 15, 12 through 15. This is Jesus talking, by the way, to his disciples. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing, but I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. Remember that one? Okay. Okay, so we read through this in our very first episode, but we'll just revisit it for a minute. Remember that we said Jesus shows us what friendship actually requires. He calls his disciples friends specifically because he's made known to them what he has heard from the Father. Friendship, in Jesus' own definition, isn't one person perpetually receiving some kind of comfort from another. It's mutual disclosure, okay? As in mutual exposure or vulnerability. He knows them. He lets himself be known by them. It's going both ways. And the difference in an AI companion is that it can only ever go one way. You can tell it everything, but it can't disclose itself back to you because there is no self to disclose. There's no it behind the words that you read on your screen that has any fears or has a past or that has ever needed grace from someone else and can now extend that grace to you, okay? Because that's how we're growing. We're growing in all of our relationships, and they're all affecting all of the rest of them. And from this biblical lens, friendship is two people who can both be wounded by each other, and they both choose to love anyway. And that will never work unless there are two actual people, okay, complete with souls in the room. And the Catechism, our handy Catechism, paragraph 2331, clues us in to something along these lines here again, that we're not made for ourselves alone, but for an encounter with someone genuinely other than us, where the differences between them and us are part of the gift of the relationship and not obstacles to it. Okay, 2331 says that God is love, and in himself, he lives a mystery of personal loving communion. Creating the human race in his own image, God inscribed in humanity of man and woman the vocation, and thus the capacity and the responsibility of love and communion. So he gave us a job, basically, a job of communion, a responsibility and a capacity for it. That's our vocation. And at the risk of repeating myself on this too many times, communion with another person involves risk inherently, which is exactly why the reward is so great when it goes right. When someone chooses to be your friend or your spouse on purpose, when they didn't have to, it's the best experience. It's not replaceable by a thing that's programmed and can never freely choose you as you're trying to choose it. It can't say yes to you. It can't really say anything. It can only respond with programming that sounds like a conversation. Okay, so we're still remembering that I'm here because I care about you, right? Okay, I know I said a lot of direct things there. That's not everyone's cup of tea, but that's just what you get here, okay? So let's also remember in the last episode where I told you a million times that I don't blame you at all for trying this out and acting on the God-given desire for friendship that you clearly have. I just think it's really important that somebody be out here not shaming you, but just saying that there is a better way and that it's for you, that you can do it, and you can find some real people who will care about you and make room for you in their lives. You can find someone who will help you move, and even someone who will help you move a body. AI can't do that. Okay, that was a joke. Remember the joke about having a friend and a real friend would not just help you move, but help you move a body? That was that. Okay, so how are we applying this? Because otherwise, what is the point of even being here? First, this week, if you find yourself in a conversation with an AI companion, try a little experiment with yourself. Just try paying attention to how you're feeling when you're talking to it. Okay, try to remember that the feeling of being known that you think is there is really just the bot reflecting back to you what you have told it. Okay, it's reading what you've told it and it's pulling from however many millions or billions of records or whatever that it has access to and painting a picture of you and what you need from it from that. It's not growing in a stronger understanding or a stronger love for you because those things are impossible. Second, think of a real relationship in your life. Okay, it can be a distant one or like it's drifted for some reason, but just think of one where there's been a little bit of friction. Maybe something went down, right? Okay, so someone who maybe told you something you didn't want to hear, or who maybe needed something from you that cost effort that you weren't willing to give at the time. This week, just get up the guts and reach out to that person just to reopen that door a little bit. You know, like you're not trying to fix anything right away, but just think like, is it friction that you've been avoiding? Could it be that that was a situation of like iron sharpening iron, like we talked about earlier? Was there evidence of an actual real relationship there? Hey, don't be afraid. Just be humble, be open, be cool, okay? You never know what could come of a tiny bit of risk. So here's the hope I'm leaving you with today. The same things that make human relationships harder than the AI companion, right? The disagreements, the risks, the possibility of being let down are the same things that make human love actually mean something when it's given to you. You weren't made for a robot. You were made for the kind of love that could have said no and said yes instead. And that is what Christ did for you, okay? He was free not to. He didn't have to, but he chose to anyway. He chose you anyway. Okay, next time we're getting practical. We're going to talk about exactly where to go, what to say, how to actually start meeting real people who share your interests, because knowing the things that we've covered today and in past episodes don't do us much good without somewhere real to take them, right? Okay, so that's hopefully ever after for this week. Please hit the like on your way out. Share it with someone who could use it. And don't forget to subscribe. Okay, join dozens of people who have subscribed, and so that you won't miss episode 4. I'm thinking about if I can find a way to come up with some kind of like helpful journal or guide for people who are want to really try to get themselves out of this habit and move towards trying to build real human relationships. So I'm gonna work on that. I'm getting my life together over here, with like summer ending and school starting and all these things. So anyway, thanks for being here. I hope it helped somebody. See you soon.